National Broadcasting Company presents the National Football League. Today from Giant Stadium, it's the Indianapolis Colts versus the New York Jets. Brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Mazda Cars and Trucks, including the all-new Mazda MPV. And by Murata Fax Machines, built for the most important business in the world, yours.
The Meadowlands and Giant Stadium, the Jets are out of the playoffs and a sellout of 76,000, and at the moment only about half of those fans are here to see the Colts. In light of the NFL Live show of comedy, it's very serious for the Colts. They still have a chance for the playoffs. For the Jets, their season is over. They'll be playing for the so-called pride this afternoon. Hello, everyone. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen, a couple of funny guys up here in the Meadowlands, and someone who doesn't bring a lot of smiles to the opposition, wears 29 in the blue and white of the Colts.
If Ron Meyer has his way today, it's going to be serious business for Eric Dickerson. Dickerson, and we've said it many times, the finest running back in the NFL. He can control a game by himself, and that's exactly what Meyer and the Colts would like to do today.
And for Eric Dickerson, he's shooting for another NFL rushing title. That would make 4 in his 6 years. And another interesting stat, 5 years in the league, Dickerson 5 times has sent his team into the playoffs.
Never missed a playoff.
All right, let's talk about the New York Jets. They have a headliner as well, and number 88, Al Toon.
Jets offensively have been able to explode over the last couple of weeks. 72 points on the board, a lot of them because of the great catches made by this man. And, of course, they're working against a depleted secondary. The Colts lost Robinson and Good 2 weeks ago to injury, 2 of their starting defensive backs. Swope went down last week with a knee injury. He won't be in there except on limited occasions today. The lone remaining guy in there, Mike Pryor, has been moved from free safety to strong safety, so he's out of position. And there should be some holes back there for the Jets to look at.
So what you're telling me is we're going to see a high-scoring game. Both teams should be able to score a lot?
I think we're going to see some scoring here today, and gosh, I hope so. We're here to have some fun.
I think I'm going to say the winner will have over 30 points, and I think the loser might as well.
I think you might be right. The Jets' games the last 2 weeks, 38-34. They won 1 and lost 1, so that figures for them.
Well, the weather shouldn't be a factor. Although it's cold, there's no wind. It'll be comfortable for players, and it's been a comfortable week for this man, Joe Walton. His contract extended. He had 1 more year left. The word is that they've given him 2 more years through the 1991 season. Walton, the only winning coach in Jets history. Sammy Baugh was the first Jets Titans, they were called in those days, coach, and he was 14-14. He was the closest prior to Walton, although Walton has had his December problems, losing the last 8 games played in December, and Ron Meyer, just the reverse. His teams are 7-1 in December. Remember when they hired him a couple of years ago, he came in an all-losing season, 0-11, and the Colts won their last 3 games for Meyer as he solidified his position immediately as the head man in Indianapolis. And this opening kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers, and Dean Biasucci, who was developed in one of the top kickers in the league, will root it downfield. Bobby Humphrey, a dangerous return man, along with JoJo Townsell for the New York Jets in white. Temperature right at freezing as this game begins, 12:30 Eastern Time. Townsell at the 7. The former UCLA star steps out of bounds at the 46 in Jets territory. So New York off to a racing start thanks to Townsell's return. Pat Ryan will be the quarterback, not Ken O'Brien, who has a bad shoulder. Freeman McNeil has led the Jets in rushing every year he's been here. Roger Vick, the big fullback. Al Toon, 82 catches, leads the NFL. Wesley Walker still has the speed to go deep. And Mickey Schuler, when they're in trouble, 3rd down, look for the ball to go to Schuler. Criswell, Haight, Sweeney, Alexander, and McElroy, the offensive line. From the Jets 46. Play action for Ryan. Good protection. What a catch in traffic by Toon. Oh my, that's That's why he's leading the league. Hammered as the ball arrived, and Toon latches onto it, and a 15-yard gain.
This is a great athlete. There's only one other receiver in the league as strong. That's Jerry Rice out in San Francisco. It looked like this ball went over the arms of Schuler. He thought the pass was going to him, but there's no question it was being thrown to Toon, who did a good job of lassoing it and bringing it down.
Oh, number 83 for Al Toon, who had the lead by 8 catches starting today. Ryan comes out throwing. This one off Walker. Barry Krause, 55. The veteran from Alabama on the coverage, and here is the Colts defense. Donnell Thompson, the ex-Jet Joe Klecko, got a good hand as he was introduced. John Hamm, the defensive line. The linebackers, O'Brien, Olsen, he's been a fine surprise. Fred Young, the former Seahawk Pro Bowler. Barry Krause, Dwayne Bickett, who is a Pro Bowler. Willie Tullis and Eugene Daniel in the rebuilt defensive secondary. Mike Pryor and John Holt at safety. There on the run as Freeman McNeil is stacked up, might have gotten a yard. Center of the defense, and then Dwayne Bickett, 50, backing up Donnell Thompson on the stop. There's Bickett, a Southern California star. You like him a lot, don't you?
I really like him. I think he may be the best all-around combination linebacker in the NFL, and his ability to play the point of attack, to rush the passer, and then to get back in coverage. He really does all three very well, Dick.
Third down, just under 10. Ryan to the sidelines. Is it a catch for Sohn? No, he was out of bounds. One official looking to the other, and the wave off. Sohn did not get both feet down. Michael Ball and Mike Pryor on the coverage.
What a fine piece of work on the sideline by Michael Ball. There's 1 foot down, and it's a good call by the official. And there was the official on the back line, I believe the back judge, who had to come up and make the call.
So with the line of scrimmage, the 38, the Jets will not go for the field goal. Although when there's nothing to lose, a team like the Jets, you always have to think fake in any kick formation.
They've always had a bag of tricks.
Prior to return, he's at the 10. Joe Prokop, an ex-decathlete at Cal Poly Pomona. It takes a bounce for the Colts and won't be down until Rose gets it at the 19-yard line. So the Colts will have it in play when we return at their 19. Olsen did not gamble at the 38, and he gets a 19-yard punt. And so the Colts will open in good position. Here is the Indianapolis offense led by rookie Chris Chandler out of the University of Washington. Albert Bentley, Eric Dickerson, Clarence Verdun, Bill Brooks is their leading receiver. The tight end Pat Beach, Hinton a Pro Bowler, Dixon, Donaldson a Pro Bowler, Utz, and Call. Gains only a yard. Scott Mercereau backed up by 54 Troy Benson. Here are the Jets defensively. Frey's a rookie, Mercereau and Lyons the veteran. The linebackers Alex Gordon, Troy Benson, and Kyle Clifton, they make most of the tackles, those two inside men, and Kevin MacArthur. Bobby Humphrey and James Hasty, a rookie from Washington State at the corners. Rich Miano and George Radichowski for the injured Eric McMillan. McMillan, the rookie from Missouri with 8 interceptions, will not play today. Chandler pressured and throws it away. Bentley was the closest cold, and Chandler just did get it away. Good pressure from Scott Mercereau, the nose tackle from Southern Connecticut.
Scott Mercereau right in the middle of your screen, and let's just watch him as we turn him loose. He's going to stun out from his inside position behind the on-rushing defensive lineman, and he breaks clean to the outside, getting away from Donaldson, forces the bad throw.
Third down and 8. side, so it's a free play. Colts don't get much from Bentley, but they will get 5 yards as they were drawn off on the count by Chris Chandler.
I talked to Bud Carson about his defense. He just shook his head. They have been shell-shocked these past
Offside,
few weeks.
55 defense. Still third down.
No pass rush. That had to be a healthy sign. They did get some pressure on the young rookie on that play, but they have been without a pass rush, and the result is that they have had horrible coverage, shattered the confidence of a young secondary, and it's been a tough week for them this week.
In fact, if Mercero had sacked Chandler, it would have been only the second sack in 9 games by a defensive lineman. They haven't had anything since Mark Gastineau left. On 3rd down and 4, Chandler going deep. Verdun. He may have had his sight blurred by James Hasty. It appeared the ball got through and bounced off the uniform of Verdun.
They have come off the shoulder pad, and he's running right on the edge of the sunlight there, which is streaming down. Looked to be a very catchable pass. An excellent throw by Chandler. Hasty with good position, but he does not touch the football, although his hand up there may have obstructed the view momentarily.
So back to kick Ron Stark with JoJo Townsell at the other end for the Jets. Perfect spiral. Townsell at the 34. And a flag is down. JoJo Townsell, who had the fine kickoff return to start the game, peels off 16 on that return. Let's see about the penalty.
I think it's New Faola. Number 30 is going to be called for the foul. He was in a bad position. Looked like he ended up trying to grab one of the defensive players on that play.
Johnny Greer.
Illegal block. Number 30 receiving team on the run back. 1st down.
So instead of midfield, the Jets will have to start at the 27. So we're in the 1st quarter here at the Meadowlands. 11.5 minutes to go.
Going back to that last play, watch Faola on Harrod right here, the clip, as they start the play. Townsell faked his own man out. Faola ready for the break to the outside, and he made a mistake there coming in on the back of the defensive man.
And actually, as you could see, Harrod would not have been a factor in the play. Townsell had already beaten him, but the penalty flag is dropped, and so the Jets start at the 22 instead of at the 50. Matt Ryan from Tennessee, the quarterback. Freeman McNeil. And McNeil has a 1st down at the 39 before Mike Pryor can secure him.
Freeman McNeil is a most unusual halfback. He does his best running up inside. Usually the halfbacks run outside. But McNeil with great change of direction and wonderful eyes, wonderful vision. Look how he moves in behind the block of Toon there. Picks up some extra yardage.
Freeman McNeil in his 8th year. The previous 7, he's led the Jets all 7 years. He's always averaged over 4 yards per rush. He's averaging 4.3 this year. He's over 800 yards now in 1988. On 1st down, Ryan to Walker, and a flag is down. Walker, it is a catch, is out of bounds at the Colts 40-yard line. I think the penalty against Indianapolis.
One of the things the Jets want to do today is to get the ball downfield to Walker. Holding call against Indy's defense on the play, and Dick, there's got to be some real problems out there for this defensive secondary with that many changes over a 2-week period.
39 defense is declined. 1st down.
Mike Pryor, who did his holding on a baseball bat at Illinois State, where he was an outstanding hitter, drafted by the Orioles, the Dodgers, but elected to play football. 20-yard gain, 1st down at the 40. to Schuler. What a catch by Schuler. He had the hands on it. Eugene Daniel nails him. The ball pops free. Schuler's concentration and hands in the right spot.
You never give up on the football if you're a good receiver. Schuler, 82, top of your screen. The ball gets away from him here. Now watch what happens as he hits the ground. Never lost his concentration. You gotta love that about a guy like Schuler. He is one fine tight end.
That's his 64th catch of the year and extends his consecutive streak at 78. Now there's another streak that we're watching today. Al Toon, and this may be even more remarkable than just a catch per game consecutively. Toon has 2 catches. If he gets one more, that'll be 49 games in which he started where he's caught at least 3 balls. 3. He is something. And he had a big game against the Colts the first time around. He almost made our Olympic team in '84 as a triple jumper. He was injured. He was the Big Ten record holder. He was right around 55 feet.
He uses that jumping ability on the field very effectively.
No score, but the Jets getting deeper into Colts territory, and a good play made by Dwayne Bickett. 243-pounder from Southern Cal gets Hector for little or no gain.
Jets feel that they can run up inside on this Colts defense. Klecko, who has lost a great deal of his burst and strength in there, along with Barry Krause, who is 30 pounds lighter than he was just a season ago or 2 seasons ago. He's quicker now, and Fred Young, who is not a big linebacker. They acquired him, of course, early in the year from Seattle. And Fred, more of a trailing linebacker, a stunning linebacker. So they feel they can get some yardage up inside.
Ryan, incomplete. It's intended for Schuler, broken up by Pryor. The fans wanted a penalty. So it'll be 3rd down and 11 for the Jets.
Mike Pryor has had a fine season. Good anticipation. He reads this play well and then is physical enough to stop the play right there with a jolting tackle.
Good camera angle. Our producer Larry Cirillo, Ted Nathanson, our director, here from the Meadowlands. It's a game of exercise for the Jets, a game for the future, and a possible playoffs for the Colts. No score. 9 minutes left, first quarter. Look at this formation. And a flag goes down. It didn't fool Bickett, as the Jets did not pick up the first down, and the Jets may not have had enough men on the line of scrimmage. Motion against someone. Walker had moved but had reset.
Look at this. They've got 2 backs lined up, one right behind the other, a third over here, and of course here's the shotgun quarterback in this thing. They're trying to just run a little running play back up inside, handing it off to Hector right there, or that's McNeil, 24.
61 offense is declined.
The motion was against the left tackle, Jeff Criswell. He's quite a story out of Graceland of Iowa, Lamoni, Iowa. Graceland, also the alma mater of Bruce Jenner and our former colleague Merle Harmon. Criswell has really been one of the great surprises for the Jets this year.
He was a free agent player during the strike in Indianapolis, and they're kind of sorry they let him go now.
Here's the veteran Pat Leahy to try a 35-yard field goal. And he's automatic just about inside the 40, and the Jets lead 3-0. 8 minutes and 41 seconds remain in the opening period here in New Jersey. No, this is not a new foot spray commercial. What size shoe do you wear?
This is a 15 that I have here. I'm going to put that back down. This is the shoe we want to show you right here. This is Pat Leahy's kicking shoe. This is the one that he used from 79 through 86. Kicked about 700 points worth of field goals. Look how he'd scrape that shoe down.
You can see actually the green from the AstroTurf on the plastic bottom of that shoe. Albert Bentley, number 20 for the Colts. Flags are down, and so is Bentley inside his 25-yard line. Carl Howard, one of the first down there. And Leahy with his new shoe, and he really protects it, doesn't he?
He will not leave that shoe in his locker. He has a new kicking shoe that he's using now. He's broken in a new one, but he takes it home with him at night. He takes it with him on the road, does not trust it to the luggage. He is very superstitious, will not let anyone else touch that right shoe.
Number 34 receiving team on the run back. First down.
Wansley's block illegal, so the Colts, trailing 3-0, have pushed themselves back deep in their own end inside the 10-yard line. Is that just because kickers live up to the reputation of being a bit different? Sometimes the elevator doesn't stop at every floor for some of those guys, or is Leahy just he just believes so much in that shoe that if he did lose it, it would affect him?
Well, I think confidence is the key, and he has confidence as long as he's got his gear together. He doesn't want to mess with anything.
Eric Dickerson. He's a threat every time he gets around that corner, and he was one block away from making that one special. George Ratajkowski and Bobby Humphrey finally trip him up close to a first down near the 20.
Kevin Call, they call him the Creature. Big man right in the center of your screen, number 71. He's going to lead out in front of Dickerson on this play. 300-pounder out there. Said he'd been sick earlier in the year, dropped about 15, 18 pounds, but he's back up to speed now. Good news for Dickerson. This is a very large offensive line that the Colts put out on the field.
I'll give Dickerson 10 more yards. He started with 1,451. And although this is only his 6th season in the NFL, look where he is already. Number 7 all time behind the greats Peyton, Dorsett, Brown, Franco, Riggins, O.J., and Dickerson at 97-07 in not quite 6 full seasons. Dickerson again. Not much there. No gain. Marty Lyons, number 93, in the thick of that one. One thing about Dickerson, he's not leaving the ball on the ground this year. He's only fumbled once in the last 286 carries.
Ron Meyer very proud of that fact and said, we really do work on it. We talked to Eric about ball security and tell him, look, it's more important for you to hang on to that football than it is for you to get that extra yard or two. And a lot of times that's when Dickerson lost the ball, is when he was going for that extra yardage.
Troy Benson, 54, shot the gap and ran right into the ball. And Dickerson, who able to struggle forward for a half a yard. But Benson, who is second in forced fumbles on this team, almost got another.
Look at this hole closing so very quickly. Benson is there, yes, but Marty Lyons there to help as well. Kevin MacArthur, some good defense, and maybe all the chewing that's taken place on this defensive team has gotten them pumped up and ready for the Colts today.
Now Chris Chandler in a passing situation. Number 85, well covered. Rich Miano and George Ratajkowski there, and the Colts unable to move again, have to punt it away.
One of the things you don't want to do is underestimate your opponent. It would appear to me that these Colts, a little bit flat, may have felt that the Jets were not going to show up as an emotional team today, and that's a mistake. You've got to be ready to play your best football.
47-year-old head coach of the Colts may be thinking the very same thing. Ron Stark will kick it from around the 10. Townsell way back at the 35, along with Kurt Sohn. Short kick. Townsell at the 42. Look at him go! JoJo Townsell, 59 yards for a score. 37-yard punt, and worse than that, it was low, so Townsell had a running start upfield with no one around him, and I think he went in untouched.
No one even got to him, and I think what killed the coverage, as you said, there was no hang time, and everything was out of tempo.
Joe Townsell has shown right from the opening kickoff that he was going to be a factor today, and now has delivered as Leahy tries the point after. That was a good hold on a bad snap by Pat Ryan. It's 10-0 Jets early. Now the Colts, hoping to keep their own chances alive, have fallen behind 10-0 to the Jets in this first quarter at the Meadowlands. Short kick. Bentley at the 11. And he can't make it to the 20. And the Jets getting an early lead, and that's really firing them up as underdogs at home. Let's go back to Townsell's return for a touchdown.
Townsell coming right up the middle. Look how he just picks it up. Now here's the safety man right here. That's Stark, the kicker. Watch what happens to him. He's frozen there. No chance. Just a fingertip on Townsell as Townsell catches that short punt and then just explodes to give himself an opportunity to break it into the end zone.
That would have been a 6-pointer even in touch football. No one got two hands on him. 59 yards. He had one last year, 91 against Seattle. Chandler hit as he delivers the ball. It's called a pass, no fumble, but Chandler drilled by Alex Gordon, number 55, the second-year linebacker out of the University of Cincinnati.
Chandler heading for the sideline.
Jerry Hogeboom is coming in.
Talked to Chandler just before the game. He was putting on his rib pads. He said, Gary told me to put these on. He said, I wasn't going to wear them. You better believe he's glad he's got them on for that shot, as Gordon just about took his ribs right out.
So number 7, Hogeboom, the 9-year veteran from Central Michigan who broke in with the Dallas Cowboys back in 1980, takes charge on 2nd and 10. Incomplete, intended for Bill Brooks. And once again, Bobby Humphrey right there for the Jets.
So important to get off to a hot start emotionally. This Jets team, which has been pretty badly beaten up in the press the past few weeks, really feel good about themselves right now, and a lot of that coming from the emotion of the special teams. So many times we see big plays on special teams really change the emotion of a game, establish a good tempo for a team.
Hogeboom looks at 6 defensive backs, 3rd and 10. Down the middle, almost intercepted by Kyle Clifton. And the Colts 3 downs and punt as the defensive coordinator, Carson, no pass rush whatsoever, absolutely none. He said last week, we're not an NFL caliber defense, but he's found a way today, at least here in this first quarter, to harass the quarterback.
Well, and they're happy about that. I want to tell you, the happiest guys on the field right now, the defensive secondary. Good defense for the pass is rush plus coverage. You've got to have both. The Jets finally getting some rush here today.
Stark again punting, and JoJo Townsell has been barely able to swallow the smile from his last experience. Gets another chance. Another dying kick, but it goes to Kurt Sohn. And Sohn is at the Indy 47. "35 yards for Stark on that punt, and a 5-yard return. Orlando Lowry made the tackle. 5 minutes, 48 seconds left in the first quarter. Jets 10, Colts nothing. Of course, just as we mentioned earlier, the Colts need New England to lose 1 game to keep any hopes alive for a playoff. Those fans watching up in New England know that the Jets' victory over the Colts would be the one loss the Colts would have to get for New England to entertain hopes as they look ahead these final 2 weeks. McNeil caught in the back backfield. Shooting the gap was Big John Hand from Alabama. #1 draft pick a couple of years ago for the Colts. A 4-yard loss.
Hand may have gotten a little bit of read off of Criswell, the left tackle, who may have tipped the fact that he was going to be pulling across in front of that play. Very often a good defensive lineman can get a read and a little bit of an extra jump. Hand was flying on that play.
Favorite athlete was Bubba Smith, ex-Colt. Second down and 14. Intercepted, but he can't stay in bounds. Eugene Daniel read that one perfectly, and but for the sidelines, Daniel had a sure touchdown. His momentum carrying him foot out of bounds right in front of Joe Walton on the Jets bench. Daniel's second interception this year. Back in '85, he led the club with 8. That gives him 20 for a career and almost a touchdown to go with it.
Daniel, who is a solid defensive back and just really anticipated that pass. He was off well before the throw, got a great jump on it. And Ryan, obviously, as you saw the grimace on his coach's face, we'll have to explain that one.
Hogeboom throwing for Bill Brooks, almost intercepted by James Hasty, the rookie from Washington State. It's a real Washington State flavor in this game. Hasty for the Jets. Pat Beach, the tight end for Indianapolis, played there. And then the man who will quarterback the wishbone if Meyer goes to it, Ricky Turner, also played with the Cougars in the Palouse country.
Well, they like to use that wishbone when they get up by about 14 points. So far in this ballgame, they'd like to get a first down, Dick.
Well, Daniel has given them their best field position at their own 46. Hogeboom. Intercepted by MacArthur. Kevin MacArthur went right out of the hands of Matt Booza and fell into the lap of MacArthur. The man they call Pop Gator has his first interception of the year.
I really believe that there should be a way of showing statistically that this is not the quarterback's fault. It is an interception, but it's one that should have been caught there and bounces right into the hands of Kevin MacArthur. That's not Gary Hogeboom's fault. That's Matt Booza. He had it in his hands and let it get away.
Now MacArthur happy about it all as these two teams have traded interceptions. And the Jets from the 50. Ryan. Incomplete. Joe Klecko was the man applying pressure on the quarterback. There he is. They say the man, when he was playing for the Jets, he's wide as Park Avenue. Klecko with a smile.
You see that big smile. I said it has to be special to come back here. He said it is, but it's awfully strange. Klecko is not the factor in the games that he used to be. He's lost some of the great quickness, some of the recovery ability, some of the incredible strength that allowed him to go to the Pro Bowl at 3 different positions. I don't think we'll ever see that equal.
But he's lost none of the heart.
No, he's still got a big smile in there.
On second and long, it's Johnny Hector to the Indianapolis 41-yard line. Willie Tullis on the corner makes the tackle. That'll be close to a first down. So the Jets enjoying outstanding field position, plus a punt return by JoJo Townsell for a touchdown of 59 yards, leading 10-0 with 4 minutes left, first quarter. Ryan on the keeper, and it's a first down for the Jets. The 36-yard line. First down, New York.
Ryan looking long for Toon. Hold on, who's got it? The Colts. The Colts have picked it off. Willie Tullis took it right off the back of Toon. When Toon went down, the ball fell right in the crowd, never hit the ground.
The ball just got trapped in there on top of the bodies. Tullis able to scoop it up before it touches the ground, and a big break and a big turnaround and a second interception called against the quarterback today. But this one, watch it, thrown right into traffic. Two defenders right on top of Toon. Now watch the football. Bouncing off Toon's leg and ending up right there on the back of Holt and scooped up by Tullis.
Hey, with the right kind of music and commentary, that makes the pregame show.
That'll fit right in with the pregame.
Here's Dickerson. Colts trail 10-0. Alex Gordon, once Dickerson stopped, it looked as if he had thoughts of reversing his field, and Gordon there to hit him for a loss.
Jets had talked early in the season about the fact that they knew they were a young defensive team. They were going to make mistakes. They took the gloves off this week, and both Carson and a number of his assistants very critical of the way they'd played defensively. They have come out with a vengeance here today.
You would expect that kind of emotional play from the men in blue, not a team that, well, when we saw him yesterday at practice, it was solemn at best. The Jets out of the picture, but certainly making it miserable on the Colts early, as Dickerson unable to find that little flat pass. Again, Gordon trailing him. 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining. First quarter, and the Colts trail the Jets 10-0.
Jets are not a come-from-behind team, so a quick start very important to them. The Colts like to control the football as well. They've been able to do it with Dickerson in the past, but they have just one first down so far in this ballgame.
0 for 9 passing as a team. And Hogeboom looks at 6 defensive backs. We're waiting for word on Chandler's injury. Hogeboom. What a catch by Brooks. Bill Brooks, who leads Indianapolis with 47, and that was a sensational fingertip snare. And considering the weather, that is a superb play.
One of the things you ask about these receivers, do they have the courage to go inside and catch the ball in a crowd? Let Billy Brooks show you the answer to that question.
Oh, that's a terrific angle to appreciate his role in giving the Colts a first down at their 35-yard line. Brooks, who played at Boston University. Dickerson to Brooks, the reverse, and they have blockers. 50, 40, and Clifton finally makes the tackle down inside the 30-yard line of the Jets.
But Carson shaking his head. If you can't attack a team's weakness, you can attack their strength. Right now, the Colts know that the Jets defense very emotional, really trying to over pursue on that play, and they use that emotion against them as they come back with a reverse. Look how many blockers Brooks had out in front of him. Hogeboom's even blocking. Number 7 gets a shot there. Donaldson getting a shot. Kyle Clifton, number 59, getting over to make the stop.
38-yard play, and now Dickerson slams into the 25. Miano, and plenty of help to make the stop. First time Indianapolis has been on the Jets' half of the field.
Dickerson had 58 yards against the Jets in that earlier game that the Jets lost. But he's a kind of back that you can hold down. You maybe hold him down for a quarter, maybe hold him down for a half. If they keep giving him the football, at some point, he is going to break away and hurt you.
Final quarter. Hogaboom over the middle to his tight end Boyer, and he's inside the 10. He fumbles. The Jets have recovered. Now, was he down? Benson falls on the ball, and Hogaboom and the Colts are arguing that Boyer was already down.
But is he down from contact? I think we ought to look and see. I think he was, in fact, on the ground, but did he go down from contact or from his own momentum? He's pushed right there. Let's see now where the ball comes loose. Is that knee down? Maybe we got another angle. Hard to tell from that angle. Very, very close.
It's a sign of the times. 1988, 8 different Colts pointing at the scoreboard saying instant replay in charades, and I'm sure they are reviewing it.
They are looking at it. Maybe we can see it again. And again, replay must show irrefutably that he is down before that ball breaks loose.
See nothing from that angle. Maybe we can go back to our previous look. Miano was the man who makes the tackle. There is contact. There's the contact that initiates the tackle. Now, is his knee down when the ball comes free? Watch his right arm.
Here's the stripping action right here from the back coming across.
Well, if I had to make a choice, I'd say his knee was down.
I don't think you can reverse it on the basis of what we see from that.
The goalpost actually hides that angle, and Hogaboom right away thought that the ground had created the fumble and goes to argue. Those kids from Central Michigan are good debaters, I want to tell you that. Let's see whether he won the argument.
I think he may have won his argument. They say they are going to reverse the play. And Boyer.
On further review, the runner's ruled down by contact. First down.
And Boyer's knee was on the ground, and I think that's actually the way it was, although that takes some good eyes to see it from our angle. Here it is from behind again. The knee is down at that point, and his elbow about, well, quite a distance off the ground. And here we go with the wishbone.
And here's Ricky Turner. What a story. He was out of football for 3 years, has a construction company up in Seattle working, and now he comes back out. And Hogaboom's going to go in. Well, they're not going to go to the wishbone, although Hogaboom has run it as well.
Well, and you see that the Jets had put in 2, 4, 5 substitutions anticipating the wishbone.
First and goal from the 9-yard line. The ball ruled dead where the knee went down, not where the fumble, of course, was recovered. The no fumble now. Eric Dickerson for the touchdown. Oh, did he take a shot as he crossed the goal line? Might have relaxed just a little bit, and that really angers the Colts, and we have a mild skirmish.
Alex Gordon almost decapitated Dickerson, and the Colts very quickly out there to show that they were unhappy with that hit.
Dickerson with his 14th touchdown run of the year, and after crossing the goal line, he really took a pop.
You don't need to tackle a man when he's in the end zone. As soon as that ball goes into the end zone, it's all over. And let's see what happens at the end of this play. Remember, it's 55. Alex Gordon. Miano misses the tackle here. Dickerson runs through. He's in the end zone. Whoa. You saw Dickerson let up, and then Gordon just ambushed him and took him to the ground. That hurt all the way up here.
Dickerson, who has taken his share of blows through the course of his career, as any great runner will, has been able to really fight off any serious injuries.
That may ignite that Colt team, too.
That's right. That could really work emotionally in reverse and spark the Colts, who now have it at 10-6. Biasucci's try for point is not there as the Colts have trouble, and that could be a point that comes back to haunt them.
Ron Stark is an excellent holder. He was finally able to get that ball down, but Biasucci had already lost his rhythm on the play, and he goes back and gets a foot on it. Watch the ball get away from Stark there. He gets it down, and Biasucci gets a foot on it, but could not quite pop it with enough authority to get it up over the wire.
Al Dickerson came off under his own power, as you saw, so he is not injured, although this is the kind of blow that can end a game or a season for some players. I don't think he expected Gordon to level him.
He eased up. You saw Dickerson just ease up as he's in the end zone. And then, boy, I tell you never want to anticipate that someone else on the other side is going to let you go through there without getting a shot on you.
That was really a unique drive by the Colts, as you see Dickerson, who every time he carries the ball, every time he scores, is parading with the Giants of yesteryear of this game. On that drive, you had a 3rd and 12 when Brooks made that sensational catch in traffic for 17 and a first down. And then you had the reverse, 38 yards by Brooks. Then you had Boyer's catch, fumble, no fumble, that ruled in favor of the Colts. Then Dickerson scoring from 9 out and really crushed in the end zone. And then Biasucci, with a rare time in the NFL, you see a missed extra point. It's 10-6. And we haven't even gotten out of the first quarter as yet. Final seconds. And JoJo on the run to the 29-yard line this time. Jeff Parad makes the tackle, and that's the end of the first quarter at the Meadowlands with a score: the Jets 10, the Colts 6.
That's the end of the first quarter. The score is the Jets 10, the Colts 6.
I'm looking forward to going to the talent search and trying to teach these people what singing is all about. It's been a dream of mine for a very long time, and a lot of my teammates think I can do it pretty well, so I'm looking forward to it.
Give us a little sample.
Well, I don't know a whole lot of songs, but
that's going to hurt your chances.
I guess I'm like drifting on a memory. Ain't no place I'd rather be than with you. Yeah, loving you. That's about it for right now. I'm a little hoarse today.
Great. Hey, that's terrific. You're in the finals in my book.
Thanks, Dick. Appreciate it.
That's Reggie McElroy, number 68, the right tackle for the Jets. He's their nominee in the Super Bowl Preview Talent Contest. Freeman McNeil to the 36-yard line. Of course, there's worlds of talent, and who knows what might be found by our executive producer, Michael Weissman, and that'll be part of our coverage from Miami on Super Bowl Sunday, searching for the best talent. And this is serious, and I know the players who are involved are serious about it. Singers, dancers, magic, read poetry, write poetry. Hey, you were on a talented team. Look at this. Fred Dreyer made it.
Hey.
Merlin Olsen made it.
Hollywood.
Rosie Greer.
Hollywood, man. Hollywood.
That was Hollywood, but this is the Jets. McElroy for the Jets. Ooh. McNeil to the 40. That's close to a first down, a flag down.
Good block in there by Mike Haight, the left guard. And Haight, who's had a chance to play because of injuries to Ted Banker, has really made progress here. Face mask call against the defense. This Jets line improving. Criswell is starting to play well.
Defense, first down.
And of course, Dave Cadigan finally getting healthy again, but probably will not see any action until next training camp. But of course, they become a much better line when they put him back into the mix as well.
That's right. Cadigan, the #1 draft pick this year, the Jets, and Criswell has done so well at tackle. They're talking now about moving Cadigan back inside at guard. He played both guard and tackle with the Trojans.
You saw that big smile on Klecko's face. He likes what's happening out there so far.
116! 115!
Matt Ryan to McNeil, and McNeil into Colts territory. About 8 more before Bickett can drag him down.
It was Bud Carson who brought the classic side saddle approach for the nose tackle. Here's Klecko, and you see him lined up across the grain, but watch the way they drive Klecko out of this play. He really has lost a lot of the strength that made him such an outstanding defensive lineman. The Jets just pushing him out of the way. Good job by Sweeney and Alexander on that play, double teaming Klecko.
Now Klecko lined up pointing in the other direction on 2nd and short. And Roger Vick slams for a first down. In the old days, remember a comment made by Blair Bush, the Seattle Seahawks center. He used to call Klecko's block, the Klecko skate. He said he hit you so hard you looked like you were rolling back on skates. But he doesn't quite have that pop anymore.
Again, you see the double team beginning to push Klecko off the line, and Jets using a good mix of plays. One of the things Joe Walton has always done. There we go. There's Carson talking about last year's Klecko.
Freeman McNeil on first down to the short side of the field, where Fred Young, who was a very expensive acquisition of the Colts, a couple of #1 draft picks to get him from Seattle. The old days, as we take an NBC flashback to Joe Klecko and the green and white of the Jets.
Sack exchange, he and Gastineau in their prime. Boy, they really did create havoc for the quarterbacks.
Marty Lyons, Salam. We saw him play one of the greatest games ever, and then the start of the injuries, the knee injuries that really slowed him down.
Well, of course, those braces on the knees now continue to be a reminder of all of those injuries that he suffered, and they do take their toll.
Good play action on second down. Ryan going for Walker, intercepted. Willie Tullis has his second. And Tullis tackled from behind by Hector at the 23-yard line. So Indianapolis has its third interception of this first half. And the Jets have been very good about protecting the ball on the pass. But the Colts have the hat trick early.
Ryan able to look the safety off, and I think figured if he got the safety off, he could make the completion to Walker. But Walker does not get away from Willie Tullis. You see, they had the safety beaten. He was late arriving, but that was just great anticipation and a great job of coverage by number 42, Willie Tullis.
So Daniel with an interception, Tullis with a pair. Dickerson goes to work. Rolls out of bounds at the 31-yard line. Radachowski made the tackle, and now we see Ken O'Brien there without the helmet talking with Pat Ryan. We'll see if he starts tuning up. They say he's feeling better. He's had the bad shoulder. He came in a couple of weeks ago in relief and helped the Jets to an important comeback win, 38-34 against Miami. Second and short. You know, that thing about Dickerson, that run didn't seem like much. All of a sudden you look, he gains 9 yards. Dickerson again. And a good play by Kevin MacArthur. Now the Jets appear to be gambling, Merlin. They're just daring Chandler and Hogeboom to throw. They're going to stack it up against Dickerson.
Well, everyone has been doing that. They're putting 8 people up on the line, and of course, the way to give Dickerson trouble is to force him to run laterally. And that's exactly what they were able to do. Stopped up things inside. Dickerson turns to the sideline and is tackled for no gain.
Yeah, when you think back of Dickerson and his really long runs, they're usually those ones where he's at full speed going up the middle, and all of a sudden he's by the linebackers, and those safeties don't have a lot of luck one-on-one against him. On third down and 5. It's to Bentley, and he has a first down to the 41. Albert Bentley from Miami of Florida, and what a terrific player he is. I think of the guys that really live in shadows of outstanding stars, Bentley may be one of the best. He's a relative unknown, but before Dickerson arrived, he had gained 631 yards last year.
We've got the wishbone on the field.
Ricky Turner.
Strange
on first down. He gives to Wansley, the fullback, and he's out to the 44. I'll tell you the story about Turner, number 12. He's out of football for 3 years. He played at Washington State. There he is. He's not as big as they say, 6 feet and 190. He said he gets a phone call from Pat Beach. He played with the tight end Beach at Washington State. Beach says, I just recommended you to Coach Ron Meyer to come back in the NFL and play as a wishbone quarterback. He says, how long is this joke going to go on? Come on. He said, no, we're serious. I think you could do it. And Turner said, all right. And now he's got himself a chance to make some money and maybe stay with this club. Hogeboom back in after just one throw. Wow. Dickerson hammered by Paul Fraze, And Kyle Clifton, it's almost as if someone said, here's the open door, go get him.
When you don't have anything to lose, you can just go ahead and attack. And that's exactly what this Jets defense has done today. They've turned people loose. Chance to watch Paul Fraze. Here he is right here, middle of your screen. Would turn him loose. 91 right there, just ducks inside his man, and going around the block like that will often get you in trouble. In this situation, it got Fraze a big play.
Third down, 11. And that's intercepted by Hasty. James Hasty has his 4th of the year, and it's first down Jets at the 32. This is a new Saturday afternoon game show. Can you intercept this? 9:39 left in the first half. The Jets 10, the Colts 6. At the Meadowlands Giants Stadium. We'll have action for you again tomorrow from the stadium on NBC as Kansas City and the Giants involved. Roger Vick on the swing is out to the 35-yard line. Let's go back to that last interception. Boy, that was an easy one.
Quarterback's decision is to throw the ball. He wants to make the good choices when the
yeah, something wrong with your microphone there, Merlin. Try it again.
The Goblins are here today, I think, Dick.
Didn't
you
mean
almost
to
had to fair
intercept
catch
you.
that. You almost had to fair catch that one.
All right. Second down and 7. It's Vick again, shy of the 40, and that'll bring up 3rd and 3. Ken O'Brien is in at quarterback, as you can see, number 7 from Cal Davis. As Joe Walton making a change at that critical position. O'Brien on the year hitting about 55%.
Rich Kotite
on the bench.
The offensive coordinator there, communicating, writing down the plays as they're called so they can keep track of what there's Kotite, so they can keep track of what they are doing in this ball game. Teams scout themselves even during the game these days.
Walker right, Tune left, 3rd and a long 2. O'Brien, tight end Billy Griggs, and he has a first. Fumbles the ball. Was it after the whistle? Yes, the whistle had sounded. They mark it a first down at the 47, and a first down for the Jets in their own half of the field. Young and Tullis with a tackle, and Griggs heard that whistle just in time. Well, that Fred Young, he's forced 5 fumbles this year.
Freddie coming from the inside with an uncanny knack for positioning on the tackle. The thing he does best is to pursue, to flow. He is not strong enough at 225 pounds to really stand up to the hammering inside, and is best used when you can kind of hide him behind the line.
O'Brien tosses to McNeil. McNeil unable to hit the corner as O'Brien Olsen, a 10th round draft pick from Maryland, made the stop.
Klecko going after Mickey Schuler, and I think Mickey may have hit him in a way that Klecko's saying, you're after my knees, man. There's no way. Joe is still furious with Schuler, and I'm sure Mickey's saying, look, Joe, I'm not trying to cut you. There, he's pointing the finger at him here. Let's see if we can see what happens to Klecko. Right-hand side of your screen, and there's Schuler, sure enough. Schuler just trying to cut him down and really backed off on the play. But when you've had as many knee problems as Joe Klecko, you're more than a little bit sensitive about your knees.
Yeah, there's nothing evil or of nasty design on the part of Schuler. Klecko knows that there isn't much left down there. On 2nd and long, Hector met by Holt. Fans thought there was a little extra activity out of bounds. No flag. Gain of a couple. The Colts trailed 10-0 before Dickerson ran 9 yards for a touchdown late in the first quarter.
Here's what the crowd was eyeing about, and I think it was actually Hector who created the momentum there as he just released his feet and went to the ground. got to be very careful when you're handling somebody out of bounds like that. You don't have to do too much to get a yellow flag.
Walker split left because of his one good eye and one legally blind in the left eye, so he usually lines up to the left because he can look back with the good eye, the right eye. And the Jets will spend a timeout. 6:31 remaining first half. Word from the Jets bench, Billy Griggs with a separated shoulder will not return, and Chris Chandler with a bruised shoulder for the Colts, injured early in the first quarter. Jets lead 10-6. Kenny O'Brien's first pass. Incomplete to Toon. That would have been his third to keep that streak alive. Mike Pryor made the hit.
We've seen Pryor time 2 hits today on sure receptions and ends up knocking the ball away. Look at that. Timing it just at the moment when Toon is trying to put that football away. Boy, that is excellent defensive play. Not much you can do when a defensive back hits you with that kind of timing.
Joe Prokop, the left-footed kicker for the Jets. Bill Brooks inside the 15. And down at the 21-yard line. John Galvin, 51, got an early piece of him. 36-yard kick and an 8-yard return. You can see 6 minutes, 16 seconds left in this first half. Stay tuned for NFL Live at halftime. And the Colts, who must do the job themselves, they must win their final 2 games to have any hope of the playoffs. A little more trouble than they thought early.
And if the winner is going to get to 30 points, we both felt it would be a high-scoring game. They better get on their horses here, Dick.
And here's the big horse for the Colts. Eric Dickerson, and Kevin MacArthur makes the tackle after a 4-yard gain.
You talk to the Jet defenders about Eric Dickerson. They said very often the blocking patterns for Dickerson don't make any sense. One of the reasons they don't is because Dickerson will run anywhere. They try to set up a blocking pattern, but if he sees something he likes on the other side of the line, that's where he goes. So very often a play designed to go around the left end may end up going off the right tackle.
Who's he remind you of in your playing days?
Dale Sayers, Jimmy Brown.
Great ones have their own set of rules. They don't have to say run. The hole's going to be between guard and tackle. You run there. Scott Mercereau makes that last tackle. Dickerson, 1,450 yards and 14 touchdowns now with 1 today, and the rest of the Colts about a third of that total. I guess he defines workhorse.
I asked him before the game, I said, you want 31 today? He had 31 last week. He said, yeah. He said, that's my kind of day.
3rd down and 4. Underneath to Brooks, who has the first down at the 34-yard line.
Dick, we haven't seen Dickerson catch a pass so far in this game, but if you broke down the work responsibility of a running back into 3 categories, purely as a runner, Dickerson is the best in football. As a pass receiver, I would put him in the top 10.
You would?
Yes, among running backs. He has developed excellent hands, good instincts, run good patterns. The place that he does not match up well is as a blocker. He's probably among the bottom 10 there. He does not pick up well on the blitz, and he does not like to block.
Reverse again and a fumble, and Brooks is able to fall on it at the 25-yard line. MacArthur again messed up the play. He's had a fine first half for the Jets. Well, that's the same play that worked for 38 yards on the Colts touchdown march, but this time MacArthur spoiled the fun.
Penetration is the key here. MacArthur's so deep that he gets a piece of Brooks's hands before Brooks can put the football away. That's good linebacking play, and they're trying to get penetration to shut down the running game here. It works to their advantage as they try to come back with a reverse.
Now 2nd down and long, about 18 and a half. Hogaboom out to the 44-yard line to Matt Booza, and Booza is right at the yardsticks.
There was was the ugly head of no pressure on a quarterback. You watch the Jets defense floundering on the line on that play. They went 7 games and only were able to get a sack in 2 of those ball games. They've had pressure here in this ball game, and there we go with the, once again, we're going to get a wishbone on the field. There you look at the drop off and the pressure on the quarterbacks here.
Dickerson to the 49-yard line, and there was only one white jersey left when he hit the turf. That wishbone with Dickerson, and of course he's very familiar, schooled for the 4 years at SMU in that position. That really wasn't much of the wishbone, no option. That was just a turn and toss.
Student body right. See how many people we can get out in front of Dickerson. Turner actually will try and get a block here himself. Watch him, number 12. He gets up there and throws his body in there. An ambitious scheme.
What Ron Meyer said, he told him, you're indispensable.
That's it. Open up another can of quarterbacks.
What's happening here?
George Wansley shaking his head. He didn't know where to go on that one.
And that is the 2-minute timeout. 2 minutes left, first half.
Had a chance to hear Reggie McElroy singing a little earlier. Now, Dick, on the sideline before the game, I saw you over there with Gary Hogaboom, and I am sure that I heard strains of the Chippewa fight song.
Hail to the Chippewas.
Hail to the Chippewas. Now, were you warming up for something in particular?
I would have been good in those rookie camps where you made you sing your alma
mater. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the talent challenge unless there's a no talent contest, but we're going to hear Clarence Verdun. He's the Colts representative in the second half. Hogaboom unable to hit and connect with Albert Bentley as MacArthur and Benson there to break up the play with 1:55 left in this first half. The Jets still lead 10-6. The ball just shy of the 50-yard line, and it's third down Colts. Colts have used all 3 of their quarterbacks under 1/3 completions, and the Jets 6 for 14. No touchdown passes. We've had 5 interceptions.
I mean, when was the last time you saw no TDs and 5 interceptions?
Hogaboom changing the play and then throws to Dickerson wide open. One man to beat for a touchdown, and Eric Dickerson is galloping for the score. Was a call at the line of scrimmage, and when you go back to it, you could see Dickerson come up when Hogaboom audibled. He came up and patted Hogaboom on the back as if to say, this is the hot play. There's no one to cover Dickerson as he went through the line, and an easy 50-yard score.
What a nice touch pass by Hogaboom. Had to hang it out there, just like he hung it out there on a rafter so Dickerson could wait and run underneath it.
So the Colts, for the first time in the game, take the lead at 12-10. There'll be plenty of time for the Jets. 1:46 left. As Biasucci, who missed on the last extra point as the exchange was botched. No trouble this time, although he does just skid it through on the right side. It's 13-10. Indianapolis leads. 1:46 left in the half. Here. What is it when they call the play? Hogaboom.
Here's Dickerson. He's going to go through here after he makes the tap, but these are the 2 guys that are taking themselves out of the play with the blitz. Now watch Dickerson just check through, the ball hanging up. There's no one home defensively, and then Dickerson puts a fine move on Booty, John Booty, number 42, the only man he had to beat to get into the end zone.
Let's go back. See Dickerson. This is after he'd come up to tap Hogaboom, and he just slips through. That is obviously a play that they've set up. They've looked at films. They know the Jets in a certain defensive alignment are going to do that. And if Dickerson can free himself, there's no one to stop him.
Very often on the blitz, it's an all-or-nothing situation. If you don't get to that quarterback, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to that kind of play.
Interestingly, Dickerson, that's his first touchdown reception in 5 years.
Now you're going to ask me why I think he's a great receiver. I really think he is a tough receiver. And when he came to the Rams, he was not a great pass receiver, basically a runner. But he worked very hard to develop his hands, and he has excellent hands, and he's a good pass catcher.
Well, he's the second receiver on the Colts squad. Brooks had 47 coming in, and Dickerson second with 28. So in 4.5 minutes, the Colts take the lead on a 79-yard drive, and Dickerson has his second touchdown of the day, a 9-yard run, a 50-yard catch. Now, JoJo Townsell, part of this first half has been his in terms of the spotlight. And it's kicked toward him at the 15. Not this time. Out to the 24-yard line. Michael Ball, number 31, made the tackle. Well, at halftime, what's ahead? Frank DeFord's essay. Boy, it's a big Frank DeFord halftime. FD. Mayor of Buffalo.
Hey, they're going to name a street after him up there.
Come on.
Yeah.
And Gale, oh, what a game tomorrow. How important is that game? Houston and Cincinnati for both of those teams, especially the Oilers as they fight for the playoffs. So stay with us at halftime. O'Brien and Hector. The old run before you catch it problem.
Johnny Hector is a very dependable back in a situation where he can get out into space, where he has a little room to operate. That instance wanted to do things too quickly. First things first, catch the football, put it away, and then run.
13-10, the Colts lead it. Same play. And Hector tackled from behind, but not until he had the first down at the 42-yard line. Bickett again.
I wonder if Hector will go back to the huddle and say, yeah, I did it right that time. I got one chance to do it wrong and one chance to do it right.
O'Brien underneath, and McNeil drops it. Both men wide open, and they knew it as a matter of trying to look upfield before they'd really tuck the ball away.
Donnell Thompson may have touched that football a little as he got good pressure from his left end position.
Now the Jets would like to get the lead by halftime. They have not been. In fact, they've been notoriously bad at coming from behind. In fact, they've lost their last 21 games when they trailed at halftime, and they're 2-34 under Walton when they trail at the half. Another one goes through fingertips. K.D. Dunn is the villain this time. That ball was certainly catchable as well. A flag is down. It wouldn't have counted anyway because the Jets were holding.
Dunn, who is in that game because of the injury to Billy Griggs, does not get a lot of playing time. Bottom of your screen, number 80. That's about as easy a pass as you can handle. Right straight into the hands and then onto the ground. That was a hard one to explain. I think he's glad that there was a penalty on the play.
Holding. 79 offense. Still second down.
By Kate, guard from Iowa. Ball marked back to the 32-yard line. Second down and 20 for the Jets. In case you're just joining us, Jets had a 35-yard field goal from Leahy and a 59-yard punt return by JoJo Townsell to take an early 10-0 lead, then a 9-yard run by Dickerson and a 50-yard pass completion touchdown Dickerson. 13-10. O'Brien going long. Platoon almost stole it away from Pryor. But again, a pass in the first half where we've had 5 interceptions, 3 by Indianapolis, 2 by the Jets, that was up for grabs.
Trying to take advantage of the great leaping ability. Toon has about a 42-inch vertical leap, but that's Pryor again. And how many times today have we seen Mike Pryor timing his play perfectly? We mentioned at the start of the show he's moved from free safety to strong safety. He is out of position today, and yet he has just come through with some outstanding plays here in the first half of this game.
I told you about his baseball talent. He was a center fielder in baseball at Illinois State. O'Brien to the sidelines, has Townsell, but the pass isn't there. So this time it was O'Brien who didn't quite make connections, and Townsell would have had first down yardage. It was wide open on the sideline. So that was a miserable sequence for the Jets, as receivers were open throughout. Either they couldn't catch it, or in the last instance O'Brien could not quite get the ball to his receiver. Bill Brooks back at the Indy 30. Scuffs that one. And Brooks has it at the 34-yard line. Well, let's look at the lineup tomorrow on NBC. Cincinnati at Houston, a huge game. Kansas City will be right here at the Meadowlands against the Giants. And the Raiders at Buffalo carry some interesting consequences as well. Then Pittsburgh, a spoiler at Houston last week, goes to San Diego. So be with us at 12:30 Eastern Time for NFL Live. The Oilers and the Bengals, the big game.
Dick coming into this ball game.
And a reminder that we'll be down in Miami in late January for Super Bowl XXIII.
Yes. Well, and at least the Colts still alive for that, although they do need a lot of assistance.
Boom, inside handoff to Bentley, and he's out to the 47-yard line with 41 seconds left, and now 40. The Colts will spend a timeout. They lead 13-10. They have good field position. Apparently they're going to go for more.
He gets in on penetration, and it's Chris Hinton. That's Mercereau, number 94. Look at Hinton right there with the blasting trap as they opened up inside. But of course, the Jets playing pass with only 45 seconds on the clock, hit with a nice gain on the run.
The Colts are very good at scoring in the final 2 minutes of the first half, and when they do, they win the game. And oops, the dropsies have hit the Colts, as this time it's Bentley who has the ball right in his mitts.
Coming into this game, if you look at the way these two teams have played over the past few weeks, you would have expected a lot of big scoring plays via the pass, and we have not had that many long passes. Dickerson scoring on a pass, but it was a short pass and a long run, although the ball has been in the air a great deal. But we mentioned this Jet defensive secondary mauled over the past few weeks, and of course the rebuilt Colts secondary.
Bentley on an inside handoff from Hogaboom. Some nice running, and he pays the price at the 46 of the Jets, shy of the first down, and timeout Colts with 29 seconds left. Interestingly, a very important number in this game, 29. Eric Dickerson, and we might just expect to see him get the call from Ron Meyer.
7-yard gain on the play.
When you played, let's go back to, with the trap play and the fascination of play calling, and when you were in the middle of the line, what were the tips to you when you thought a trap was coming? I mean, they tried to trap you a lot, I know.
Well, very often you have a sense of over-dramatic linemen who are trying to show you that they're doing something. You say, no, not going to buy that one.
Overselling.
Sometimes it's overselling, and other times just by the way they walk to the line, I knew what the play was. And sometimes I knew what the play was when they broke the huddle. It's funny. You just knew what the play was before it was ever run.
College basketball right after our coverage of the Jets and Colts. The Temple Owls and one of the great collegians, Mark Macon, the freshman of the year. The Temple #1 team at the end of the regular season last year against the team that won it all, the Kansas Jayhawks. That'll follow us immediately following this game. Marv Albert and Al McGuire. Hogaboom tried to get rid of the ball, but Ken Rose will be credited with the sack. Back at the 45 of Indianapolis.
You bet he's happy. They haven't had many sacks to celebrate on. Look at that. Rose, a 205-pound linebacker, and they've tried every combination. 5 linebackers, 2 linemen, 4 linemen, 5 linemen. Rose finally, who slips through to make the stop.
Now, final seconds tick away. Gastineau had 7 sacks in 7 games and then retired, and that was a different year. They haven't been able to muster much sense.
Well, when you lose a man like Gastineau, who was guaranteed the double team, and he was averaging about a sack a game, you had to go after him. Gastineau, there are the numbers right there. Lyons had his had 4.5 of those sacks while Gastineau was still there. So Gastineau was drawing heavy coverage. Alex Gordon was playing well, putting a lot of pressure on, and very often on the same side with Gastineau. There's Gordon on the bottom right there, and you'll see Rose coming through the gap right there, just sprinting through. Hogeboom trying to dump that pass, but he was already in the grasp and control of the linebacker.
Now, wait a minute, Merlin. We've got this thing all set up here. We better alert all our cameramen. Only 8 seconds left in the half. Is this the time for the Jets to call upon that go to the wishing well play and start tossing it around and see on this return?
Well, he did it last week. I'm not afraid to throw all the stops out. How many guys? 11 guys? 11 different guys touching the ball?
Oh, I guess the Colts are just going to kick it here. Hogeboom, loud. No, the Colts are
another sack.
The Colts are going to try a little razzle down. That might have been interesting had Dickerson gotten the ball, because the field was really spread out for him.
Paul Fraze getting in on the action here.
That was just a 3rd down. So now the 4th down, and with 4 seconds left, the punting team comes on.
Fraze power rushing.
But check that. That was the 4th down. And that was the
first sack of the season. Fraze, who's just a rookie, 6'5" and 273, pushing on a 300-pounder at 6'7" to get that sack.
But what an interesting call by Meyer. He gives the Jets a chance to score on this play. And they do not. But with a 13-10 lead, the gamble in his own end of the field gave the Jets a position where that ball is caught, and the Jets take the lead, a la Cincinnati and San Francisco a year ago. So the end of, at times, most unusual first half, and the Indianapolis Colts, who must win their final 2 to entertain hopes of a playoff bid, have a 3-point advantage. NFL Live will follow in a moment. First, these words from your local stations. Meadowlands, the Colts leading the Jets at the intermission 13-10.
Dick, for defensive backs that figured it'd be a day when they would be the victims. Well, they have made the quarterbacks the victims today, and there have been some of the strangest interceptions we've seen all year.
Boy, almost as if the quarterback's throwing at the wrong man. Here's starter Ryan, and Eugene Daniel almost went the distance on that, ran out of sidelines.
The next one, through the hands of Matt Bouza, goes right into the hands of Kevin MacArthur.
And that one not that unusual, but this one you won't see very often. In the end zone, you pick it off your partner's back. It rolls around and say, oh, that one.
It's the old off-the-back trick.
It's getting to look a lot like Christmas, but that was finding the Easter egg. Here comes another into double coverage, and Tullis with one of his 2 interceptions. And then the final interception, almost it looked as if Hasty was the intended receiver of the Jets.
Well, you almost have to fair catch a ball that hangs up that long. You're afraid that somebody's going to clock you while you're looking up at the air.
And we'll be back as the New York Jets putting a little drama into the Colts' hopes for the playoffs. It's 13-10 at the halfway mark. We'll get the ball first in the second half, and this kickoff to open the second half is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Pat Leahy looking as if he was a man left out in the cold, now ready to go, and that well-worn shoe sends it end over end down to Bentley at the 6. Ooh, runs into a pile, no whistle, and second effort gets him another yard, maybe to the 23-yard line. Starter was Chris Chandler for the Indianapolis Colts. The rookie quarterback has done a fine job, 8-3 as a starter, but injured early, and Hogeboom takes over as we look at the first half statistics.
Passing yardage not impressive for either side. Look at their rushing yardage. 87, as you might expect, for the Colts. The Jets have done a good job of running the ball themselves. Of course, those turnovers, the 5 interceptions that we had a chance to show you just moments ago.
You understand Chandler is still in the Colts locker room. He probably won't play the second half. Dickerson will, and takes a handoff and a short yardage. Dickerson maybe a yard on that play, had 35 yards in the first half. Paul Fraze made the tackle.
We talked about how important it is to the Jets to play well in these last 2 games. I really feel, Dick, that they have better overall talent than the Colts do. And I think I'll say that again. I think that the Jets have more talent on their team than the Colts do. They need to get a few more key people. They obviously are minus some key people, but they have a lot of young, talented players.
Miano on a defensive blitz comes in cleanly and assisted by Marty Lyons. Hogeboom is sacked for the 3rd time. So the missing element in the defensive game of the Jets, a pass rush or even pass pressure, has come to life today. Bud Carson's come up with a good scheme.
Well, I think maybe Bud Carson shook the tree. He and Mike Falconer, the defensive backfield coach, who came down so hard on this defense last week, talking about the fact that they simply were not of NFL caliber. And the defense, I think, stung and embarrassed by that, has responded here today. And they have put some real heat on the quarterback.
Colts with 4 wide receivers, 6 defensive backs. Hogeboom, 1 hops it to Bentley, incomplete. And again, good pressure. Scott Mercereau was on top of Hogeboom. And the Colts, as they started the game, 3 downs and a punt.
As happy as the Jets are to see some pressure on the quarterback, you better believe that on draft day, when their turn rolls around, if there's anyone there who can rush the passer, that name would be called.
Ron Stark, who did not have a good first half punting the ball. In fact, one of those punts returned for a touchdown by that man, JoJo Townsell, who went 59 yards in the opening quarter. In fact, the Jets and Colts are both high in the NFL standings in punt returns.
With the clock operator, please reset the game clock to 13:35.
The Jets came into the game 4th in the league, the Colts 3rd, the New Orleans Saints number 1, and the 49ers 2nd. But that return by Townsell for the moment would probably put the Jets in 1st place in the league in punt returns, average yards per return. Kurt Sohn will join Townsell. 33-35, a bit too much on this day of humor of the NFL. They'll get that down to 13-35. Hold that plane at JFK. Hold that plane. Bad news for the Colts. One of their replacements in the secondary, where they're very thin due to injuries. John Holt has been injured, and he may not return. And we understand Fred Young, also injured, may not come back. Well, here's Chandler out of the locker room and warming up, trying that injured shoulder.
They got a revolving door on that locker room. They're moving them in and out. And of course, the most dangerous part of that is an already thin secondary cannot deal with many more injuries.
9-man rush by the Jets. And Starks kick, a floater. Townsell at the 45. And JoJo with an 11-yard return to the 44 of the Colts. Orlando Lowry, 59, one of the tacklers. Let's watch Townsell as he, well, that's got to be a moment. You're trying to catch a difficult ball and knowing that the pressure's coming, doing that dance, getting those feet ready before you move upfield. 37-yard punt, 11 yards on the return, and the Jets trailing only 13-10 begin on their first series of the second half in Colts territory with Ken O'Brien at quarterback. Freeman McNeil ducking under John Hand's high tackle. He picks up a few. There's the note we gave you earlier that when the Jets are behind at halftime, it's sayonara. 21 straight times they've lost when they trailed at the half. And they've won only twice when behind at the half in Walton's career at head coach.
Is that like flipping a coin? Do your odds improve each time? I think not. That's not the kind of stat that you like if you happen to be Joe Walton.
And there's another factor, Merlin, as Toon makes his 3rd catch of the day, so that extends his streak. Al Toon, 49 consecutive starts. He's caught at least 3.
Right side of your screen, number 88. Well,
9-yard gain, first down.
Which direction did he want to go? I guess really protecting his legs. So important to have awareness to know when you're in a bad position. And a player who is not capable of protecting his legs and protecting himself does not survive many NFL seasons.
First down at the 34. Freeman McNeil, who equaled Eric Dickerson's rushing yardage. They each had 35 yards in the first half. Picks up about 6 on that play before Donnell Thompson can make the stop.
Both these teams with some bright young talent, and one of the people that you have to look at and say, now this guy is going to be a player, O'Brien Alston, a 10th round pick. I think the steal of last year's draft, especially difficult to block on the running game. When he learns how to play against the pass, he is going to be something special.
6'6" and 246. With a Jets first down at the 23. A reminder, our viewers will be selecting our Budweiser most valuable player at the conclusion of today's game.
Let's look at O'Brien Alston. One of the things he has to be able to do is to avoid a block. You see him right there. That was number 88, trying to get a block on him, and he was able to skirt off of that block and break to the outside, get a piece of that tackle. Reminds you a little bit physically of Teddy Hendricks, the stork, that long body.
Johnny Hector inside the 20, ridden down by Keith Taylor and O'Brien Alston. Here's Alston again. He was the 270th player selected in this year's draft. He gets Hector after about a 6-yard gain, and Craig Swope, who was injured, number 26, is in the game for the Colts. That's an indication of how thin they are. They didn't want to play Swope.
Has a bad knee. Yeah, they didn't want to have to put him in the game.
2nd and 4, up the middle. Roger Vick to the 5-yard line. 1st and goal, Jets. Krause and Pryor finally make the stop on the 230-pound fullback.
The Jets able to run in behind Dan Alexander and Reggie McElroy on the right side. That's an excellent block by McElroy on Donnell Thompson, able to shut him off and turn him inside and open a large hole. They have made some big yardage on the right side of that Colt defense today. Actually, the left side of the defense, the right side of the offense.
Roger Vick gets 3 more. It'll be 2nd and goal at about the 2. Sea of blue tacklers, the smother Vick. Now, we're talking about the fact that the Jets have not been able to win, Merlin, coming from behind in the second half. And there's another thing working against them today. When you know there's no future in the playoffs, there's no emotional support to help you to say, okay, hey, once we get behind, we got to come back. And as long as they stay ahead, they're going to be troublesome.
They really are. The Jets have lost so many close games of late. They really don't feel like they don't feel like a team that's been bounced out of it. They feel that they've had some bad luck, and they have.
Here's Hector. Noses down to the 1-yard line. 3rd and goal. Swope and Daniel, 2 defensive backs to pinch him down.
Again, running to the right side, and they feel that they can move Donnell Thompson, number 99, out of there. We mentioned that they are confident of being able to control on the inside. They'll go to the 4-man line here and try and get into the gaps, shore things up.
Out of the eye with McNeil as the tailback. McNeil, touchdown. A flag is down in the end zone. Let's see how they sort it out. The Jets are indicating it's against the Colts. That's an all.
Tell Ken O'Brien to put his hands down. His arms are going to get tired.
Johnny Greer, the referee.
Illegal hands. 97 defense. It's declined. Touchdown's good.
O'Brien Olsen, the man we had focused on that drive, the rookie defensive end. Pat Leahy comes in to try the point after as the Jets have the lead, 16-13. Leahy was the NCAA most valuable defensive player as a soccer star at St. Louis University back in 1969. Adds the extra point, and the Colts concerns continue. They trail by 4 early in the second half. Jets regaining the lead at 17-13. Kick it off to Bentley. And Bentley is stopped at the 23-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown by Freeman McNeil.
For O'Brien Alston, it's a learning process. Watch K.D. Dunn drive into him and take him off the ball, takes him into the end zone, and watch what Olsen does at the end of this play. In frustration, he grabs the face mask right there, and that's the penalty that was called against him.
Olsen watching now as the Colts offense on the field at the 23-yard line. Gary Hogeboom for the injured Chris Chandler at quarterback. And the throw for Booza, intercepted by Hasty. James Hasty. That's a half dozen in the game. 3 aside.
This last week had to be one of the longest weeks of James Hasty's life. Beaten by Stephon Page of the Kansas City Chiefs for 2 touchdowns last week. He has come up with some big plays and a couple of big interceptions here today. And the fragile confidence of a cornerback, a rookie cornerback, restored here to some degree today.
Second interception for Hasty, is 5th of the year for Cracker Jacks, as they call him. And the Jets now in a position of putting some distance between themselves and the Colts. And it's Freeman McNeil bucking his way down to the 17-yard line. Well, they're a long way from the record going back to the old AFL days.
I'm glad I didn't do that ball game. I can remember a game early in my Ram career when our quarterbacks were intercepted 4 times in 1 quarter, though. So we were not a very good team in that year, I might say.
On 2nd and 6, Dick has running room. And Mike Pryor, again, who seems to be in the thick of everything, came up to cut off the corner close to a first down at the 11-yard line.
Very important to get good backside pursuit. O'Brien Alston coming from the backside with good speed, but he cannot catch up. Well, yes, he can. Not until Roger Vick is slowed up anyway. And Vick, I talked about Freeman McNeil being an unusual halfback, liking to run inside. Vick's an unusual fullback, runs very well outside. You'd think it'd be the other way around.
First down for McNeil. Slithers down to the 7. Cliff Odom, number 93, who was playing for the injured Fred Young, one of the inside linebacker positions, made the tackle. Odom in 85 and 86 was the Colts' leading tackler. And then they, of course, acquired Dwayne Bickett and now Fred Young, and Odom on the bench.
A lot of people that feel that he should be on the field, like some that feel that he is the better of those inside linebackers and should have an opportunity to play more.
Jets can make a first down at the 1 without a touchdown. So on 2nd down, it's Hector. Upended at the 5. And there he is, Cliff Odom, along with O'Brien Alston.
And Joe Klecko hurt on that last play, down on the ground. He really took a shot from Ray Donaldson, the center, I believe. Collapsed right to the ground and has not moved.
And a timeout. Jets leading and looking for more. Klecko is okay, left under his own power. It's 3rd down, 4 for the first down, 5 for a touchdown. McNeil. He's short of the first down. Well read by the Colts defense, and Jeff Farad, a rookie linebacker from Mississippi, in on the tackle.
They've continued to pound on the right side.
Jets are going to go for it.
Well, we wondered early in the game why they weren't taking more risks, and I think Joe Walton, in the spirit of things, said, what do we have to lose here? 4th and a yard, can pick up the first down without getting the touchdown, and they'll give it a try.
So they forsake a certain field goal. 4th and 1. Same play. Better results. Hector for the touchdown. Johnny Hector, the touchdown maker, his 10th of the season. He was tied last year for the NFL lead with Charles White in rushing touchdowns with 11, and he's got 10 here in 1988.
Defense stacked inside. Defensive coordinator George Hill, I'm sure, trying to guess with Joe Walton on the other side of the field, and they stacked it up inside, only to see Hector with all kinds of room to the outside.
Leahy adds the extra point, and the Indianapolis Colts are down by 10. With that extra point, it goes 24-13, an 11-point deficit, staring the playoff hopeful Colts with his 10th touchdown and a 24-13 Jets lead. The kickoff to Bentley. Oh, Albert Bentley. Solid hit by 51 John Galvin, the rookie from Boston College. Well, for the Colts, it's getting serious for them and their fans back in the Midwest. This was the situation coming in today. They must win the first 2 games. If they lose today, they join the Jets on the sidelines. They must win today and must beat Buffalo next week and hope New England loses a game and Houston or Cleveland loses the last 2. It's important to look at that if you're a New England fan as well, because you could just reverse that. The same situation basically for New England. They need the Colts to lose the one and the other situations to develop. Turner in the wishbone. Turner, the quarterback, gets a couple. Paul Fraze, 91, made the hit.
Got to wonder at Myers' reasoning for putting this on the field, except that perhaps his confidence in his quarterbacks disappearing, thinking that perhaps a changeup, go to the shotgun and see if you can't shake it up a little bit, get things moving. But he's not afraid to move quarterbacks in and out like most other people put in a running back.
Feel the temperature dropping. It was around 30 degrees at kickoff. The pass to Brooks, and he's out of bounds at the Jets 37, and a flag goes down. May have been a face mask. So the Jets, predictably, figuring wishbone, they're going to run the ball, and Ricky Turner, not a strong arm, but certainly an accurate one, as he finds Bill Brooks.
What a great job of conning the receiver, Bobby Humphries. Right there, he just waits, playing man-to-man. The ball taken right off the top of his shoulder. Beautiful, beautiful job by Brooks. A very veteran kind of play by the receiver.
And Radachowski with the piling on.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 25, defense. First down.
So there was method to Ron Meyer's madness as he got the Jets to concentrate on the running game and then went over the top for the big first down, and the bonus comes on the benefit of a very silly defensive foul.
Becomes a 47-yard play, 32 on the pass and 15 on the penalty. Still in the wishbone, and it's Turner, and a flag goes down as he's tackled at the 15. Scott Mercereau. Be called back on the illegal procedure.
The Colts have not used all of the possibilities out of that option, and there are a great many of them.
eagle formation. Defense, the tackle was on the end of the line. Still first down.
Coming into this game, they had used the shotgun 64 times for 329 yards and 8 touchdowns. 2 of those TDs in short yardage last week.
By Turner,
but rarely had they used it in the middle of the game unless they were ahead trying to eat the clock. This is kind of out of character, but so far it has been effective.
There's got Bentley and Dickerson as the halfbacks, Wansley the fullback, and now the reverse to Brooks. And a play in a different form that worked well for a long gainer, 38 yards in the first half, short yardage this time. Bobby Humphrey on the corner for the Jets, 4 yards on the pickup. It's 2nd and 11.
Well, the first reverse of the day was a very profitable one. The next 2 have been much less profitable. Fool me once, what's the old saying?
Ricky Turner, he's fooled some people. Played a couple of years at Toronto in the Canadian Football League out of Washington State. As we said, 3 years in construction in Seattle, and now he's really trying to build something important. A comeback for the Colts, who trail by 11. Going to pass again. And has to eat it. That'll go as a sack. Troy Benson, 54, knocks him out of bounds. And George Wansley is slow getting up.
And look at all this pressure on the quarterbacks from the Jets today. We mentioned they had 5 of the last 7 games without a sack. Now they have gotten pumped up here today defensively.
Well, the Colts in Jets territory, but moving in the wrong direction. Timeout, 3:32 left in the third.
As Kevin Call will push Paul Fraze into the back of his legs. Watch the play here. There's Fraze, and purely an accidental kind of the play, but that sends one of only 3 backs to the sideline.
That means Hogerboom is in, and he's throwing. Incomplete for Brooks, as Hasty had good inside coverage, denied him the corner, and here comes Biasucci to try a field goal. Let's underline that point. The Colts have only 3 running backs: Eric Dickerson, Albert Bentley, and George Wansley, plus their quarterback. So without Wansley, you don't have a wishbone.
You don't have the wishbone. He's the fullback. He's the guy who instigates the activity there, so we may have seen the last of the wishbone for the day. I don't know, a 2-back wishbone, is there such a thing?
And broken bone.
Oof.
45-yard attempt by Biasucci, who's had another outstanding year, and he's a good long-range kicker. It is good. 45 yards Biasucci, but because of the extra point, instead of being within a touchdown, the Colts need more than a touchdown. 24-16, Jets, 3 minutes and a half to go. Dean Biasucci, who has bent his face mask down, so when he looks down at the ball, it's not obstructed, kicks it off. Line drive, Bobby Humphrey. Humphrey is tackled at the 30. Biasucci, you like him?
I really like him. He had the best year of any kicker in the league last year, and even though Scott Norwood has gotten a lot of publicity this year, I think it's a close race for the 2 of them, and he's not afraid. He's a good athlete. He's not afraid to come down there. Watch him coming down. He's a safety, remember, but he's sticking his nose in there. I'll tell you, it is his nose. With that mask bent down, he doesn't have the protection of an ordinary mask. Liable to get a knee in there or anything else. Good athlete.
The boyish-looking Biasucci from Western Carolina.
Really handles the pressure well.
The Jets lead by 8, 24-16, late in the third quarter. And Freeman McNeil dances out to the 37. Jeff Parad makes the tackle. He's seeing a lot of duty with the injury to Fred Young.
Look at that stat. 14 rushes and a single pass. The Jets really controlling the line of scrimmage with that big offensive line. And we talked about the improvements that they have made. That was one that Joe Walton was very quick to point out to us. He feels that this offensive line coming together late in the season.
the second pass of the second half, and Hector drops another.
Twice today that Hector has taken his eyes off the football to look downfield and drop the pumpkin.
So it'll be third down and 3, a short 3. Hector, who has 25 catches on the year. Tune in motion, and O'Brien in search, and finds Schuler. His key third down target. Pryor with yet another tackle. A busy man in the deep defense of the Colts, but Schuler has the first down at midfield.
Well, we saw Mickey Schuler in Miami earlier in the season. He was coming off a severe neck burner, a nerve situation that had taken a lot of the strength out of his arm. He's still battling with that. You sense the pain here coming all the way across. Well, you look at his numbers over the last 5 seasons. No one in the NFL has a tight end who has done a better job of corralling that football.
No one close. 319 catches in the last 5 years. McNeil fumbles, but it goes right back to Schuler. Schuler on cue there to fall on the ball to gain more Jets yardage down to the 42.
Just a final note on Schuler's problems with his neck. He said that his strength is still about 80% of normal, but the pain has, a lot of it is diminished. Let's watch the ball squirt here.
First and 10 at the Colts 37.
39, Mike Pryor, who's made so many big plays on the day, but very alert defense, very alert play by Mickey Schuler.
Down to the 37-yard line. First down, Jets, with a minute left in the third quarter.
Timeout, Ken O'Brien.
So the Jets spend one of their 3 second-half timeouts. Joe Walton, who calls the plays and sends in the plays with his running backs. Boy, that reminds us of the game we had last week in Los Angeles when on that sideline Stan Reeve was furious about a timeout called by the Broncos that he didn't feel should have been called, and it wound up being a major factor late in the game as the Broncos lost 21-20.
Yeah, they did. And Walton angry about something that was taking place on the defensive side of the line. Pointing out to the defense and really going after the official.
Joe Walton, who has a 190-pound tight end, broke in 1957 in the NFL out of Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh. Played defensive back early in his pro career. Don Shula and Joe Walton were the cornerbacks with Washington. Not for long. O'Brien, fumble.
Oh, what a lucky play for the Jets. That ball bounced right back to Jeff Criswell.
But it may, well, a flag goes down right where O'Brien threw the ball. Let's see what the call is. Jeff Criswell was there. A lineman cannot touch it.
Well, I think it was a fumble, not a pass.
Illegal touch. Number 61 offense. Behind the line. That's a loss of down.
Now that's strange.
I don't think Criswell was beyond the line. He was in the backfield, but nevertheless.
I also think that this was a fumble rather than a pass. Let's see if O'Brien's hand comes forward. Looked to me like it was a fumble. I think the ball was going back when it was knocked loose, and it should have been called a fumble.
I agree. Byron Darby hit the ball as he had cocked the ball back.
Well, I won't replay that one. It's too quickly done by the Jets.
The pass is to McNeil. In trying to cut, loses his balance at the 33-yard line, and that'll bring up third down. Let's go back to the previous play. Watch Darby, 72. O'Brien has his hand back. And it goes right into the arms of Criswell, who was to his side. I don't think Criswell was beyond the line of scrimmage.
Well, it doesn't matter at this point. The Jets have the football, a 3rd and 6. And an opportunity, if they can get it in the end zone, to really put this Colt team in a deep hole.
Here's that formation we saw in the first half with two receivers lined up in tandem to the right of O'Brien. And one of them is Walker. Said he goes downfield to Toon. Al Toon plays touchdown music.
Things that has to frighten you when you have put together a secondary that has been patched up as this Colts secondary has been patched up. An unusual formation that requires adjustments on the field, and if you don't get them, you may well get that kind of big play.
33 yards for the score and a new Jets record for Toon. Leahy adds the extra point. Al Toon with 4 catches today now has 86 for the year, an all-time New York Jets record, and he's in position now to become the first Jet ever to win the National Football League reception record, most receptions in a year. He had a sizable lead coming in to today's game, an 8-catch lead.
Bottom of your screen, number 88, and no one there to help. That's such a tough play anyway. Chucky Miller, no, 38, Eugene Daniel, the corner, but the safeties drawn up inside. And Eugene Daniel all by himself, no one there to help him. And I've got to say that somebody blew the assignment on that play, and an unusual formation very often puts you in an awkward situation.
The Jets have their 3rd touchdown of this 3rd quarter and now own a 31-16 lead. They were trailing 13-10 at the half.
What about those 21 straight?
Maybe you're right. Maybe the numbers come up and you're due to break that string. So Joe Walton, certainly a happy head man, as that play. I guess it's like in baseball when you hit the ball in the sweet spot. There's no feeling like it for a coach who has devised a play, and Walton is an offensive mastermind to devise a play and then see it work so perfectly. It has to be a delight. Leahy kicks it off. Flag down. Albert Bentley out across the 35-yard line. Marion Barber, who leads the team in tackles on special teams, he's their captain on special teams, made the stop. Jets were a little too quick out of the blocks.
You talk about Joe Walton being excited about that play. Larry Cirillo and Ted Nathanson had a shot of him throwing his arm in the air from the sideline. This has been a much different year in relationship.
Kicking team is declined.
And Joe Walton's relationship with his players. He really lost his team, many felt last year, as a result of his attitude during the strike and shortly afterward, and a very negative attack on the team when they lost. This year he has been very, very positive, and I think it's paying dividends for him late in the season.
End of the 3rd quarter. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. To go here at Giant Stadium, and that may be just 15 minutes for the Indianapolis Colts in this season, unless they have their best rally of the year.
We talked about the Jets not being a come-from-behind team. Neither is Indianapolis, especially with a couple of quarterbacks who've not had a good day. They've gone to the shotgun, or they're not the shotgun, the wishbone. Can't run that anymore. They lost one of their backs. Been a tough day for Ron Meyer, who's got to be wondering, and we are wondering too, why his troops are not better motivated.
Or that how the Jets can get themselves up. We kind of figured they'd be the team that is flat.
Wansley, they say, is back in the ball game, and so is Turner. So the wishbone is going to survive.
And James Hasty had his mitts on his 3rd interception. It was right there for the rookie corner. Couldn't tuck it away. Eric McMillan, another rookie, had 3 interceptions in a game earlier this season against Miami. Total yards through 3 quarters, very close, but time of possession. And the Jets, what would be the key? The fact that they got the early lead?
I think emotionally they had to get off to a fast start today. That 10-point lead early on, the big difference for them. You look at what's happened here in the second half. A lot of that yardage, tough, grinded out yardage for the Jets. And they have established control of that running game here in the second half.
Well, when you got that ace in the deck, Eric Dickerson, you better start drawing to it, and Dickerson eases his way for about 8 or 9.
The problem with the running game and with the wishbone is time, really. You've got a 15-point lead. You've got to have 2 touchdowns and then a field goal to go ahead in this ball game. And even though we're looking at 14:49 on the clock, the Jets, I'm sure, are willing to trade some yardage for time at this point in the game.
50 yards on the 1 catch for a touchdown that gave the Colts the lead just before the half at 13-10. And here comes Bentley, and well defensed by Rich Miano. Miano coming up from the safety spot to make the tackle.
I'm really surprised to see Wansley back in that ball game. They were looking at his knee on the sideline, and he's back in there.
And the Colts,
pretty well.
Excuse me, are going to have to go for it. Down by 15. Ron Meyer on his own 45-yard line. 4th down and 2. Says we're not going to get too many more chances. We got to go for the first down here. Dickerson, who else? Can't make it. Bobby Humphrey, and the Jets take over on downs. Well, we saw Joe Walton celebrate on the touchdown to Tune, and Ron Meyer on 4th and 2 sees this day growing even darker.
It's been that kind of day for Meyer and the Colts.
Winner else for Meyer. And just as that has to throw a pall around the emotions of Colts fans everywhere, the folks up in New England, this is one of the elements that they needed.
Even a smile from Bud Carson on the sideline.
O'Brien, who has engineered 3 touchdown drives, gives to Freeman McNeil down to the 36-yard line before Cliff Odom can make the hit.
Well, you look ahead a little bit optimistically for the Jets. Their first come-from-behind victory when they were behind at the half in 22 games. Their first win, they were 0 for 8
in December.
In December, a chance to right that record. I'm sure there's a lot at stake, a lot more than just a single ball game at stake for this man.
Well, some of the press here in New York were critical of Walton being rehired. A mix-up there. Ball down to the 33. But the fact that Leon Hess and the Jets management were saying, hey, this is our coach. He's going to be here 3 more years. So if any of you have any grumbles, speaking of the players within the organization, you're going to have to deal with this man. He's going to be the boss. And that really gave him a stroke of power these last 2 games, where the athletes on this squad know well he continues to evaluate, and the players' future is on the line in these last 2 games, some of them indeed.
You also hear from these players how much better, as I mentioned earlier, the relationship is between the players and Walton. I think that's what's paying dividends here today.
O'Brien looking for a big one to Schuler. And who breaks it up again? Mike Pryor. I don't think I've ever seen a game where one man, after a man's caught the ball, has been able to jar it free. That's the 4th time today Pryor's pulled that trick.
Timing. It's the essence for those defensive backs. You get there a little early, you draw the yellow flag. If you get there as the ball arrives, you often can shake it loose.
Perfect play by Pryor. Well, he was a hitter, 388 in baseball. I asked him why he didn't go. The Dodgers drafted him in the 4th round, and Baltimore liked him as well. He said, frankly, it was because of family. I wanted to have a family. I didn't want to be traveling 7 months a year. So now he's only traveling 6 months a year.
But he's home during the week.
That's right. O'Brien. And on 4th down, the Jets convert as Al Toon has his 5th catch of the day. Man who studied ballet and modern dance. One of his teachers in college thought he was crazy to play football, that he had a career in theater.
17-yard gain on the play.
He's in theater.
At the Colts 16.
He's big time.
He's got those dancer's legs. So on 4th down, the Jets have converted to Tune, and they threatened to blow this one open. O'Brien, lots of time, even more. That almost took as long as the final play for the Jets in last week's game.
Yeah, one of the weaknesses that O'Brien has always had is he is slow of foot. Took him a long time to learn how to sift in the pocket. It's still a major flaw in the arsenal that he brings to his quarterbacking responsibilities.
But one that Walton said will be covered well if the master plan works, as you see O'Brien on the scramble, and that is the fact that Walton feels that offensive line is young and improving and bigger, and that O'Brien won't have to scramble much in the future. They're going to have the guys up there that can protect him. Meanwhile, Johnny Hector all the way to the 11-yard line to bring up 3rd down and about 4. A flag is down, and I believe Ted Banker is going to be ticketed.
Banker had gone in for Alexander, and he's angry. He's stating his case.
63 offense.
That'll bring it back to the 31-yard line, and it'll be 2nd down and about 25.
Banker telling the defensive man, I didn't hold you. Donnell Thompson, I think, the man that he was blocking on.
Tune to the left. Walker split right. And O'Brien eats it as Cliff Odom finally filters through the blocks and records the sack, and that displeases Walton because that pushes the Jets for the moment out of field goal range.
You got to pull the trigger. If you can't get the pass off, get rid of the football. You take the big loss like that, you push yourself right out of field goal range.
That's one of the reasons why he's banged up and not totally healthy. He does take a lot of licks. He's always looking for that last second for a man to break open. Sometimes wisdom is to throw it away.
Imagine how many hits he's taken on top of those sacks.
Underneath the Tune, and he's tackled at the 30-yard line, and coming in late to try to help him out was Ted Banker. Some of the Colts didn't quite appreciate it. And Kurt Sohn and Craig Swope get into it. And Swope records the fall, and here comes Banker again.
I think it's Marty Lyons over there, and this is, you got to believe that perhaps the most important thing that will come out of this game is the way the Jets feel about themselves. Now you're seeing something right there, an exhibit of, well, and there goes the flag, and I think someone said the wrong thing to an official. Probably could have thrown 4 flags by now if you really wanted to.
The other part of this, Merlin, is, as you know, as a player, you light the fuse in August with all those hard, rigorous days, sweating and toiling, trying to make a team, and you have the promise of the playoffs out there hanging in front throughout a season, and then now you get down to the quarter where that may all be disappearing, and all of those emotions are going to be fueled and explode.
We have offsetting personal fouls. 79 blue, 93 white. They'll offset.
Marty Lyons out of all that gets the
Marty Lyons all the way off the sideline.
But it was Banker who started it. He came piling in.
Now that's what made Swope angry, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him for being angry. Now he's saying, hey, they should throw a flag on that.
They should. That's no different than a defensive player diving in on a foul.
That's easy to get somebody hurt that way. Swope, and that's Marty Lyons coming after Swope. There's Lyons. That's the flag on Lyons there. And apparently it was something that was done after the fact by Harvey Armstrong that got him a foul.
Well, the gain, nevertheless. So Leahy tries a 46-yarder. And the Jets have 3 more. .49 remaining, and still some emotions left on the field as the Jets have an 18-point lead.
Art Demas in the middle saying, hey, knock it off in there.
The biggest comeback for the Colts all year, 7 behind. And the kickoff goes to Albert Bentley out to the 22-yard line. Carl Howard made the tackle. And again, the push and shove continues. Gary Hogaboom comes back in at quarterback. All your years, Merlin, in the NFL, and I saw most of your games, I don't remember you ever being in a fight.
I got a couple. We got in a real good one against the San Francisco 49ers where both benches emptied onto the field. And in fact, I had inadvertently started it. I jumped over Dave Parks, who was laying on the ground, and as he started to get up, my knee hit him in the head. I was just trying to get downfield on an interception. He thought I'd kicked him in the head. Well, the next thing I know, the whole 49er bench emptied. I'm on the ground. There are 3 guys kicking me, and the guy pulls me out of it. Monty Stickles, who was the worst cheap shot artist in the league, pulled me out of this thing.
Dickerson on the screen. And the Colts need something big and in a hurry, and they look to the right man, Dickerson. He gives them a first down, also gets out of bounds with 9.5 minutes left. It's not over for the Colts. They have time, but they need 3 scores, 3 big ones. The second half belonging to the Jets, who were behind 13-10 at the half. And you would have thought the Colts, with that playoff pickle out in front of them, and then taking the lead just before intermission, would have come back red hot in the second half, and it's been just the reverse.
They have not done it, and one of their weaknesses is very obvious here. Their inability to pick up large chunks of yardage with the passing game, I should say.
Hogaboom was in the grass, and that's another sack. Ken Rose gets it, and a 5-sack day for the Jets defense. In the last 7-8 weeks have just not been able to produce anything at all like this.
5 sacks. They're most in 6 games. Well, we mentioned that they have been in 5 of the last 7 games. They failed to report a sack. So this is indeed a major turnaround. Freeman McNeil getting some help over there from Bob Reese.
2nd and 11. Hogaboom underneath to Dickerson. Miano with one hand gets a ride out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Clock stops with 9:01 left, and it's 3rd down for Indianapolis. 34-16 the Jets with a big second half, scoring 24 points. It's got to be a desperate time. Season long now squeezed into a 9-minute period for the Colts, and Dickerson drops a pass. He's had plenty of company in this game, and on 4th down, the Colts, who went for it on 4th and 2, will go for it again.
Well, maybe the Jets responded to the lash a little bit this week, Dick, and we talked about it. They were horrible last week. They played a very, very sloppy football game. Carson was angry, and he'd been coddling them a little bit, been saying we're young, we're making mistakes. He stopped last week, and a little different feeling out there today.
And they lost in the final seconds to Kansas City. Chiefs being eliminated. And on 4th down, Boza gives the Colts extended life. First down at the 40, and understanding that there isn't much time left, Hogaboom and Indianapolis will use the no huddle probably from now on whenever they can. Oh, what a catch by Pat Beach Brooks, the tight end, who had to look around the umpire, Demas. That ball went right over the official's shoulder. He was actually screening him out.
Great one-handed grab.
In no huddle, 2nd and inches. 8:15 left. The Jets lead 34-16. Dickerson, no, it's Bentley this time, down to the 19-yard line, where half the Jets team make the stop. And there was Nichols, 77. Bobby Howard gets another piece of a tackle. Again, no huddle, 1st down, under 8 minutes to go. Most of the crowd is on its way home, content the Jets will win this one. Bentley. Oh, what a tackle by Bobby Humphrey. Now, here's a guy, Humphrey, who is a wide receiver converted into a defensive back and is really developing into a prized player for the Jets. They're going to build part of their defensive secondary future around him.
Very unusual for a pass receiver to have that kind of aggressiveness, and that's what brought their attention to him as special teams play and later an opportunity to play on defense.
Ogeboom over the heads of everyone as he was under pressure from Lions. Back to Bobby Humphrey. You know, you got to respect a guy who lists as his hobbies karate and tennis. I mean, there's the kind of doubles partner I want. A guy that plays tennis and loves karate. Boy, is he tough at the net. And that chop shot. Oh,
look out.
Ball at the 21, 7 minutes and 14 seconds to go. The Colts almost have to score and get the ball right back and score and get the ball right back again. Field goal won't do it now. 3rd and 11 to Bentley. Boy, did he fight off the tackle of Radichowski. Bentley, and timeout is called by the Colts with 4th down, and there's a wise timeout to use, because at 4th and about 5, they dare not make a mistake here. Whoa,
there was a great stiff arm on Radikowski to spring loose for a few more yards.
7 minutes and a second left. Reality is simple here. The Colts need a 1st down or they're out of the playoffs. Bill Brooks unable to hang on. The defensive secondary, Rich Miano, made the hit. And the Jets take over on downs, and with less than 7 minutes to go, and the Jets with a sizable lead, this is quite an upset.
So very often the difference in games, not physical, emotional. And it's an emotional Jet defense that has really stepped forward to take charge, and an emotional Jet offense that has stepped forward in the 2nd half to run the football and take charge. Miano, who's had an excellent season, there to make that very, very big play.
Well, it really is fascinating, human emotions, and how it is that here's a team, the Colts, who you figure would have all the emotions on their side, and how a team can fire itself up. But, you know, people say, well, pride is almost a cliche, but it's there. That's the guts of this thing. McNeil through a disheartened defense out to the 28-yard line. And stay with us, Temple and Kansas in an early season battle. That'll come to you from Atlantic City here on NBC, the home of great college basketball. And of course tomorrow, NBC football, and we've got a dandy down in the Astrodome, Cincinnati and the Oilers. Freeman McNeil, in a quiet, efficient manner, has 90 yards rushing today. He's outrushed Dickerson. And now Johnny Hector on 1st down. All right, let's take a look at the playoffs as they stand now, and assuming that the Colts are not going to be able to whip up some incredible miracle, Buffalo is in. They've clinched their division, and New England now becomes much more alive because one of their factors has worked. The Colts have lost or will lose. Cincinnati and then Cleveland and Houston. For in New England to get in, Cleveland or Houston would have to lose both their remaining games. That's the only way the Patriots can get in. And out in the West, who wants it?
Teams backing up out there.
Hector again stacked up at the 35-yard line. Meanwhile, in the NFC, it's the East that still is confusing, although the Giants step up on everyone else. They'll play here tomorrow. You'll see that game, Kansas City, and the Chiefs have shown they can rise and beat the good ones. The Bears, and Brian Meyer says Minnesota's the best team he's seen all year. He thinks that's the Super Bowl winner. The Colts coach really impressed with the Vikes, and the West still in doubt as well in the NFC. Boy, that wild card really was a great concept in terms of maintaining interest in a lot of cities. Freeman McNeil going to be close, I believe, a yard shy of a first down.
Down in the tunnel, elevators heading up to the press box. Bill Parcells there with Ron Earhart as offensive coordinator. Said, wait a minute, coach, it's a mistake. You don't play until tomorrow. But of course, they finished their season with the Jets and doing a little scouting here today.
That's right. The battle of the Big Apple is next week, the Jets and the Giants. But right now, it's the Jets' day. Marty Lyons has some back spasms, probably won't return. Nearly blocked, and a flag goes down. That'll be a penalty. Running into the kicker.
John Brandis, number 88, running into Prokop. The official right on the spot saying nobody pushed you in there, and that'll turn the ball back over, or will it? No, yes, it will. And up for the first down here. No longer carries the automatic penalty unless it's a
Mike Pryor was
big
the man to make contact.
It's Pryor, okay. Brandis also there, number 88, but Pryor the man that bumped him. Well, and Pryor, after so many big plays on the day, one that was not so good.
39 defense, first down.
So on 4th and 1, that's a first down.
It's desperation time, though, and that's all too often those things fall right back on top of you.
What does Al McGuire say? If life were fair, we'd have no war or surgery. For the men in blue, who have been the best record team in football the last 2 months, but they couldn't overcome the 1-5 start. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the New York Jets and the National Football League is prohibited. The game is the property of the National Football League, Indianapolis Colts, New York Jets. All rights reserved.
Dick, you make a very good point. You go back to the early part of this season, that tough overtime loss to Houston, loss to Chicago, Cleveland. The quality of those teams, no question about that. Came back and lost to Miami for the first 5. Oof. Tough way to start.
Johnny Hector stopped at the 50-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and a short 2 for a first down. Eugene Daniel made the tackle. Attendance 47,000 here in person. 29,000 people with tickets. Hope you enjoyed our telecast here on NBC Sports.
The faithful.
Yeah, we'll have more than that here tomorrow. The Giants, their season's still very much alive. Kuhn out of bounds with a first down at the 44-yard line. And for Al Toon, that is his 7th catch today. So that streak will come to an end. The Jets are going to win in December for the first time in a while. Tune with 7 catches, 103 yards. 25-year-old University of Wisconsin graduate. He was the 10th player picked in 1985 and has lived up to that high rating. 2:45 left. Season grinding down for the Colts. They'll not be in the playoffs. Hector having trouble, was really shaken up on that play, and they're going to assist him off.
Be very careful with him.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing they used to do in your day. They just come out and haul you off by your ankles.
Drag you off the field.
But that's not always wise. Let the people who are medically trained deal with the injured player.
As we were looking at that Indianapolis sideline, I was thinking, who would have thought early in the season, when their record was 1-5, that they would still have been in the hunt with 2 games left to go in the season? So in many ways, what they have been able to do since that time, rather miraculous. They have played some of the best football in the NFL during that sprint that they put on during the middle of the season, later part of the season, but it appears to have ended with a thump here in New York.
Well, you look at the 6 defeats and who beat them. Houston, the Bears, the Browns, the Bills, the Vikings, New England, and all of those teams, and New England the longest shot, but all of them potential playoff teams, and then the Jets, who were eliminated last week. You still can't help me out, though, on how this... I'm going to be very honest here. I came to this game today thinking that Ron Meyer's Colts would just steamroll the Jets. That just the emotions alone, and all going for the Colts, trying to get in the playoffs, and the Jets season ending last week, and what at practice yesterday, just the solemn nature of the Jets. They seem so down and resolved to, hey, it's all over.
Dick, my 15 years in the trenches of the NFL taught me one thing. You can't guess at the emotional level of a team by watching them practice on Saturday. I've come out of those practices knowing that we were ready, knowing that my team was emotionally and physically and mentally ready to play, and then have watched us go out on the field and stink the place out. And exactly the opposite. At a time when the emotion should have been at its peak, at a time when, well, the other side, when we should have been down, and bingo, suddenly you come out and do the opposite thing.
So there is no explanation.
There is no
explanation. The players don't know?
The players don't know. In fact, the players probably know least of anyone.
That's why you don't want to be a head coach. Because they don't know, and that the players don't know. So it's another example, just another example of what we may see in these last 2 weeks of the season. The teams that are out of it shouldn't play well, and that's why Bill Parcells and the Giants have to have their eyes on this one. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs come in the same situation as the Jets. They nothing to lose tomorrow.
And I think that nothing to lose thing does make a difference, because it takes all the pressure off.
So with the injured Hector taken off, now the timeout, the 2-minute timeout, 2 minutes left here in New York. Well, 2 men that certainly have different emotional bases. You're so solid, and you hide yours, you're steady as a rock, and I wear it all out on here, and we're trying to deal with how it all works out, and I guess that's what makes it all so fascinating. You can't predict.
And that is the difference. There's no question in my mind. The biggest difference in the games of the NFL, not physical, emotional. The amount of emotion, and there is no rhyme or reason to it. So very often what is so dead obvious just does not happen. And we've seen that here today.
Yeah, they get a play underway quickly, and now it's just a matter of riding out the clock. And the Colts saying to themselves, hey, we did the best we could. We were beaten by good teams. We rallied, gave ourselves a chance, but fell short. Now it's time for the Most Valuable Player Award, sponsored by Budweiser. Bud Carson's entire Jet defense, much maligned, really playing well today, and that was the difference. Budweiser will make a contribution to the United Way on behalf of all the MVPs selected during this weekend's games.
And if you had suggested to Bud Carson before this game that at the end of this day his defense would have been nominated in mass for player and players of the game, what would Bud Carson
He'd
have
have run
to
you right out of the office, probably.
He'd have thought it was some kind of cruel joke, but they have played inspired football here today.
McNeil down to the 39-yard line. That'll bring up 4th down and about 5. Let's check their report cards today. Ryan started, but it was Ken O'Brien off the bench in the second half who engineered 3 touchdown drives in the 3rd quarter. And Freeman McNeil, that last run, has just gone to 100 yards rushing, so he has outrushed Dickerson. And Al Toon, the sensational wide receiver going for the NFL receiving title, now has 89 on the year with 7 catches today. Chandler injured after an 0 for 4 start. Hogeboom threw 3 interceptions. Turner and the wishbone really not a factor. Dickerson scored both Colts touchdowns, one on a 9-yard run, one on a 50-yard catch and run.
We don't see, Dick, we don't see the 5 sacks by the Jet defense. They should be on there. And the fact that they were able to contain Dickerson so well. He got 58 yards in the earlier game against them, 42 as you saw today. And for Eric Dickerson, that is an awful day.
Delay, offense.
Well, that gives us a chance to acknowledge these folks. Our executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. Coordinating producer of NBC's football coverage, director of today's telecast, Ted Nathanson. Today's telecast produced by Larry Cirillo. Our replay producer, Terry Ewert. Our coordinating producer for NFL Live, John J. Filippelli. NFL Live produced by Tom Roy and Ricky Diamond. NFL Live directed by Bucky Guntz. Technical directors Lenny Stucker and Richard Sansevier. Joe Prokoff. Catch by Brooks, and it'll bounce out of bounds. We also want to thank Joe Costanza, our statistician, superb, and for helping the booth, Mike Alber, Frank Sirkowski, Jim McLaughlin, Ron Zipkowski. Our director of choreography and Christmas sales in New York, Susan Olsen.
She's doing some damage, I can tell you that.
They say somebody stole her credit card yesterday and you gave it back to the thief. He was spending less than she was. Boom underneath the Booza with 25 seconds clock running. Colts have used their timeouts. You know, the Indianapolis Colts, the AFC Eastern champions of last year, just could not fight off that very difficult start of 1-5. Although they won 8 of their last 9 before today. And with 1 second to go out of bounds is Dickerson, and we will now have the final play of this day. So Joe Walton, as you said earlier, Merlin, Walton with the extension of his contract, and he's already paid the first dividend. He's helped this team to win today. They have a chance for a winning record. They go in against the crosstown rivals, the Giants, next Sunday with a chance to really close out this year on a high emotional note.
Very important to them what they have been able to do here today. They need to acquire a couple of more good players, in particular some pass rush. Without that, they're going to be pretty defenseless next year. But they have proved today that they know how to play this game, and they know how to get themselves ready emotionally.
So the Colts are beaten 34-16. They're out of the playoffs, but when they host Buffalo next week, the fans there in the Hoosier Dome can salute a team that certainly fought back gallantly from a tough start, and a team of quality and youth that is back on the winning side, and a team of the future for Ron Meyer. We'll be back at